Welcome back. Chapter 3. When Etta woke, she wasn't sure where she was. This is becoming a habit, she thought. Sunlight was peeping around the curtains. The fabric was a print of Western American animals: buffalo, prairie dogs, eagles, Teddy Roosevelt's delight, she thought. The name made her think of Martha's deceased husband, Theodore. But wait, no, that wasn't real. All that had been a dream. By noon, she knew she'd have forgotten the whole thing. It was just that right now, this minute, her long dream was very clear. Sights, smell, voices, people. There was Alice, who was Alicia, and Sophie and Freddie, two women she hardly knew, but who had seemed like long-lost friends. As her father was there, as a preacher, she'd have to call him and tell him. Her introverted, crowded-hating father as a pastor. It was a funny idea. His loves were numbers, something a person can depend on, in the Old West where men were men. So what kind of sermon did Reverend Tobias give? How to balance accounts? Or did he give history lectures on what really happened at the OQ Chorale? Maybe he'd do a show and tell about his favorite Wyatt Earp. He'd tell how he was 6 feet tall and that he never drank but ate a lot of ice cream. The thoughts were making her smile. She heard a clatter downstairs and realized she had to quit reminiscing and get up. She had to earn her keep, just like Freddie does, she thought, then laughed. It was when she threw back the covers and put her feet on the floor that she felt pain. What in the world? When she moved, she hurt. From head to toe, she ached. What did I do last night? She muttered. She twisted her upper body. Everything was sore. When she stood up, she closed her eyes in pain. She felt like that time she and Lester had loaded 3 dozen 50-pound boxes into his pickup. She lifted, pulled, pushed, and dragged those boxes. The next morning, she could hardly move. Worse was that she had to listen to one of Lester's lectures of, "You kids today are too soft." Etta limped across the room. There was a tall mirror, the old-fashioned kind, on a stand in the corner. She had on a long t-shirt she found in a drawer, and she saw a bruise on her leg. When she lifted the shirt, she saw a huge dark bruise on her backside. "Damn wagon," she said. But that couldn't be. She hadn't really been on a wagon. She was sore because she took a moment to come up with a reason. Obviously, during the night, she'd been sleepwalking. That made sense. Scary lockdown, surrounded by strangers, separated from the people she loved. It had all upset her more than she thought it would. The stress, the uncertainty had caused her to have a dream so vivid that she left the bed and enacted it. She started to turn away, but then looked back at the mirror. The man in her dreams, her husband, had injured her ego badly. No, she wasn't flamboyantly beautiful like Caroline, Cornelia, but Etta had always been called pretty, not plain at all. Good skin, bright blue eyes, thick dark hair. One time a boy told her she had the most beautiful lips he'd ever seen. Of course, a boy making a pass couldn't be trusted, but still. She looked about the room. There didn't appear to be anything that would give her bruises or muscle aches, but that didn't erase the fact that she had them. Her eyes lit on the trunk at the foot of the bed. It was the one she'd seen in the back of Mac's wagon. She corrected herself. She had seen the trunk earlier, so she incorporated it into her dream. Wincing from pain, she knelt in front of the trunk and opened it. It was full of children things, books about dangerous adventures, a pocket knife, a few X-Men figures, and a lot of animals made by Stryer. She could imagine birthday and Christmas gifts. All in all, it was a time capsule of when Ben was a boy. As she moved things around, she saw an old package at the bottom. It was in brown paper tied with jute string. It wasn't hers, so she wasn't going to open it. But then she saw that a corner was torn. A piece of lace was sticking out. Etta pulled out the package. The paper was so old it was disintegrating. As it cracked and fell away in her hands, the lace cascaded out. It was the little shrug she wore at her wedding, the one her husband had so carefully placed inside the trunk. She sat back on her heels and ran her hands over her eyes. There had to be a rational explanation for this. Her body was sore and bruised, so it was clear that during the night she'd not stayed in bed. She moved about in her sleepwalking. Had she opened Ben's old truck, seen the lace jacket, and incorporated it in her dream? Yes, of course. That had to be what happened. She got up, took a shower in the hottest water she could bear, put on light makeup so she was less plain, then straightened the room. She told herself that she'd buy some acid-free Archival paper, rewrap the lace jacket, and put it back in the trunk. How odd that the package seemed to have never been opened. By the time she got down the stairs, groaning at every step, it was almost 9 a.m., late for her. She found Henry in his library on his big leather couch, half a dozen books around him, bamboo lap desk and pens nearby. He had on reading glasses that he removed as soon as he saw her. "Good morning. Sleep well?" As she sat down on the chair across from him, she gave a groan. "Sorry, I seem to have done some sleepwalking last night." He was concerned. "Is that usual?" "Never happened before that I know of. I'll call Dad today and ask. Maybe I did it as a child. But anyway, I want to ask him how'd he like being a preacher. He's going to change careers?" "No," she smiled. "I had the most extraordinary dream last night." "Do you remember any of it?" "I remember every minute. Excuse me. Even how bad the cowboys smell." "Ooh, please tell me. I do love stories." She took a breath, then let go. "Well, I got married, but he thinks I'm too old to, be a real wife. So I'm to take care of his sister who looks just like my sister and run his household. I guess that means cooking and cleaning. I told him I should get a mop and bucket as a wedding present, but he gave me 20 acres and said that if I last a year, he'll build me a house. I said I wanted one just like yours, but I guess I won't get it because I'm here now." With my lace shrug. "I always wanted to wear lace at my wedding." She stopped talking. Henry was looking at her with a combination of interest and confusion. He set aside his little nest of books, paper, and pens. "How about if I cook us breakfast? Since I don't cook at warp speed, you'll have time to tell me every word of this dream. Where was it and when? It sounds almost historical." It was. It was just after the North and South War in Garrett, Kansas. Never heard of it. He went to his shelves, pulled out a thick book, Ghost Towns of Kansas, and flipped through it. It seemed that there were many small towns that no longer existed. "Oh, yes, it's here, Garrett, Kansas. Short-lived town. It died when the train line went to Wichita. Happened to a lot of towns." "What else does it say?" "Just dates and a photo." Etta nearly grabbed the book from his hands. The picture showed a flat piece of land with tall grasses. No church, no saloons, nothing. She handed the book back to him. "I must have read the name somewhere. You ever hear of a man named John Kecklin? He tried to buy Kansas. So did a lot of people, but I haven't heard of him specifically." Etta shook her head as though to clear it. "It was just a dream, but I can't seem to get rid of it. My father and sister were there, and Freddie and Sophia from next door. I barely know them." "Was I there?" Henry asked. "No, sorry, but Martha was. She." Henry's face drained of color, and he looked like he was going to pass out. She led him to a chair. "I'm sorry, I should keep my mouth shut." He was breathing slowly, but color was returning to him. "That Martha was there without me isn't something I want to imagine." "No," Etta said softly. "Martha wasn't a happy person." She'd lost her husband and son in the war. That's when I found out that it was a civil war. Ah, Henry said, so Ben and I were dead? No, her husband's name was Theodore. I don't know the son's name. Henry's eyes widened. When I met Martha, she was a widow. Her husband's name was Theodore. How did you know that? Etta took a step back. I don't know. Why is my lace shrug in Ben's trunk? Henry was staring at her. It's wrapped up in old paper? She nodded. We bought that trunk the same time we got the desk. They were from an old house that had been in the same family for over 100 years. The woman selling it all said the trunk had belonged to her late husband's great-great-grandmother. Her name was Amelia. No, it was Alice something. Etta leaned against the bookcase. Alice, Alicia, my sister, his sister, and maybe someone's great-great-grandmother? This is all very strange. When Henry started to stand up, Etta went to help him, but he waved her away. I'm all right. I just need some good Kansas beef and I'll be fine. How about a breakfast of steak and eggs? And you can tell me why you move like you're in pain. Did you sleepwalk straight into the walls? Etta smiled. The truth is, I had to get in and out of a wagon that was about 4 feet off the ground. Then he got mad at me for being sarcastic, so he drove over all the holes, not to mention the pile of horse manure, and I got beaten up. By the wagon, not him, although he was driving. Martha said he should learn how to drive, so maybe she was right. Henry stopped in the doorway. Who is he? Oh yeah, him, my husband, Maxwell James Lawton. The one who thinks you're old? The concept amused Henry. Old and plain, Cornelia called me that. She was Carolyn, Ben's wife. My Ben? Henry's eyes twinkled. My wife, my friends, and my daughter-in-law were there, but I wasn't, and I'm wounded to the core. Etta laughed. I really tried to control the dream, but I couldn't. I even clicked my heels and made like Dorothy, but I stayed in old-time Kansas right outside his sod house. Sod house? Like a true historian, Henry was in awe. I want to hear every word of this dream, every syllable, all of it. Gladly, Etta said. Maybe telling it will get it out of my mind. This is cute. Henry was right. Kansas beef cured a lot of problems. By the time she'd eaten the steak with eggs that came from Freddie's chickens, she felt much better. Pretend wagon riding had made her ravenous. Etta had never been a good storyteller, as her family had told her many times, and as evidenced by her first rendition of it. Henry, a pro, helped her organize it. Start at the beginning, he said. First day, first hour. It was only one day. We went to the side house where I met Alice. Then I returned here. Henry gave her the look of a writer, impatient and a command of do it right. All he said was, chronologically, please. When they got to the library, he took the couch while she sat on the leather chair. As Henry directed, she started at the beginning, going through the hour she was there. The wedding, the ride through town, who she saw. She told about Cornelia and how she used her little riding crop. Etta waited for him to comment. She was silently asking if this was like Caroline, but Henry said nothing. When she told about the trip to the side house, he wanted lots of details. Finally, Etta came to the end when she saw Alice. Etta stood up. She was so very alone in that glass house. My sister Alicia had a great brain. She's good with people. She helps them and always has. But Alice was reduced to sitting alone, looking out at the world, all because of a limp. And her brother is ashamed of her. He may mean well, but he locks her up like she's a precious gem. Henry puts down his pen. You keep mentioning he, as in he did this and that, but you haven't really told me about him. Etta shrugged. He was all right until I made him angry. He was kind and generous. He was certainly lovely to look at. But he sees me as a worthless old woman. It's a wonder he didn't ask me if I did windows, and he imprisoned his sister. I thought you said he expected her to have children. That implies that she'd get a husband. It doesn't sound like she was imprisoned. Etta sat back down. Maybe not. I only saw her for minutes. Only dreamed I saw her, that is. Anyway, he has a beautiful, bad-tempered, entitled girlfriend who still wants him, and he probably desires her. If it weren't for her father, I'm sure he would have married her and happily lost both his ears. What about his ears? She told him of seeing the badly repaired earlobe. I said he should have gone to Martha. Etta told him his quip that Martha would have pulled the lobe off. Henry nodded. In that era, that's probably exactly what would have happened. He seems to have known her well. He closed his notebook. I think I like to do some research now. Etta thought he was dismissing her, but she very much wanted to look through some of his thousands of books and check out the internet. If Garrett, Kansas really existed, maybe there was some history somewhere. Not that it matters, she told herself, but still. Do you mind if I join you? I'd be honored. He said, do you type? Maybe you can transcribe my notes. I've been told that my handwriting is legible. She took the notebook he held out. Very legible, and yes, I can type rather well. She grimaced. Yet another ability that is useless in the 19th century. You can cook. They had lots of beef and beans back then. Ah, right. Flatulent constipation. I know the word. Sorry, y'all. I was just stumbling. Henry laughed. Come on, let's see what we can find. For the rest of the day, they burrowed into Henry's extensive library. Over the years, he'd collected many obscure pamphlets and locally published books, the kinds of things people threw away so they disappeared forever. Ben and I used to do road trips together, he said as they ate roast beef sandwiches for lunch. He told how they drove to small towns, to places that no longer existed, and fantasized about what it had once been like. We went to many cemeteries, he said. The older, the better. I'm going to check sites about who is buried where. By nightfall, she'd found no record of the people she'd met, alive or dead. She and Henry had eyes that seemed to go in circles. Etta asked about Sophie, but she wasn't singing that night. Henry knew her schedule and honored it. Etta made dinner for them, tacos that she put on the table seemingly faster than the beef could cook. As they sat down, she said, "What if I dream again tonight?" "Lucky you." His head came up. "Please include me and set me up with my wife. The names are the same, but I don't think your wife and the past Martha are the same person. The Martha of my dream was a bit, grumpy, sullen, and angry." Etta grinned. "Exactly, yes. She looked like someone who could drive a mule train. My Martha was no nonsense. I bet she was glad you took over the house and Ben." "Very glad. She liked that we were happy, and she loved hearing about our adventures around Kansas." He picked up a piece of tomato. "Vegetables. Did you know that a lot of Mexicans live in Kansas? I'll bet you they planted gardens. You'd have something to cook besides beef and beans." "What a good idea. Not that I'll go back. I mean, I won't dream of that place again. But I like vegetables. You have any cookbooks around here? Historic, maybe?" "Funny you ask that. Martha loved reading cookbooks." "This is the woman who never entered the kitchen?" "The same. They're in my house." "The one designed by Carolyn Cornelia with the whip? Has she ever, struck out at Ben?" Ben is as quiet as Caroline is energetic. They complement each other. I have a feeling your husband is more like her. They would inflame one another. My husband, Etta said. He's not real. It was just a dream. She got up and took the plates away. Whatever. He's not inflamed by me. She put the utensils in the dishwasher and turned it on. Mind if I get a few cookbooks, then go to bed? I think that's a good idea. He led the way out the back door. Etta hadn't seen the greenhouse, the one designed by the flaming Cornelia. She slowed down. Stop it, she told herself. It was a dream. Caroline was not Cornelia, and besides, Cornelia didn't really exist. Etta went around the tree, and there it was. Cute. Didn't begin to adequately describe it. She would have guessed that Caroline would make the guest house in the style of Henry's Italian house. But no, it was short and white, with glass pane doors in front. No modern sliders for Caroline. Henry held the door for her. Like the interior of the big house, the little one was furnished in timeless modern, very clean, white and blue, with splashes of dark purple with pillows. It's lovely, she said, really nice. It suits me. I don't need a full kitchen and all those rooms. As long as you have your library, you're fine. He laughed. You already know me well. The guest house had only 2 rooms and a bath. The kitchen was at the end of the pretty living room, and the cabinets had been custom made. Carolyn put all the pans I'd need in one on the dining table, then measured them. She had the cabinets made to fit them. Very clever, Etta said. The bath was cream and blue with a walk-in shower. The door to the bedroom was closed, and Henry hesitated. Politely, Etta stepped back toward the main room. No, he said, it's all right, but you'll see. He opened the door. His bedroom was full of pictures of his late wife. There was a professional portrait of Henry and her on the wall. He could lay in bed and look at it. There was a long chest of drawers on the far wall, and it was covered with framed photos of his family, with Martha at the center of each one. There were several of her receiving awards. She must have been a great doctor. Brilliant, he said as he picked up a framed photo and looked at it lovingly. Martha was the most undomestic woman I've ever met, and we didn't have a conventional marriage. When I met her, there was a young buck doctor who was going after her. Everyone told her she was a fool to choose an old man like me over him. But Martha knew that he'd make a traditional marriage. He expected her to run the household, cook dinner, that sort of thing. That wasn't her. Etta picked up a photo of Ben. Henry was holding him and gleaming with pride. So how long after you were married was your son born? 9 months and a day. His eyes twinkled and Etta laughed. The cookbooks were in shelving on the opposite wall. There was a couple hundreds of them, some big and glossy, some as old as Henry's history books. There were 4 library boxes filed with Kansas regional cookbooks, Martha M. Logan, printed on the spine. You did that? Etta said, your divine organization skill put to use. Henry seemed to blush. Not exactly divine, but handy. Oh dear, it fell down. Etta was on the far side of Henry's queen-size bed with it blue and white devote, so she didn't see what he was picking up. He hung it on the nail to the right of the bookcase, then stepped back. When Etta saw it, she grew dizzy and sat down on the bed. It's what? That's what Alice was sewing. She hadn't finished the E with the dots over it. Henry took the old frame needlework down and sat beside Etta. When we first saw it, the last letter was missing. Martha used her surgical skills to sew it. See? The E is newer than the rest. Etta held it. I need not sell my soul to buy bliss. Charlotte Bronte. Tell me about it. It's from the auction where Ben and I brought the desk and trunk. The trunk was locked and the woman said no one could open it, so she didn't know what was in it. She said the horrible thing, and I quote, "It's just old stuff, who cares?" I assume you let her live and later you opened the trunk. Ben did. I had a box of old keys and he spent hours with them until he got the trunk open. Inside was the wrapped package and this. Martha saw it and claimed it. She said it was her life and what I had made come true. You showed up with a house and a job that you could do at home and a willingness to take care of your son. That meant she could keep her life. Yes, you were her bliss. I like to think so too, he said. Etta held up the frame and studied the letter at the end. She could see that it was different. I wonder why Alice never finished it. You hadn't seen this, yet you put it in your dreams. When she looked at him, she saw that he was serious. She stood up. Oh, no, you don't. What I dreamed wasn't real. Somehow I saw this before. I bet it's in a photo in the house. I wasn't conscious of seeing this, but I did. She put the needlework on the bed and went to the bookshelf. Any books you recommend? So you'll know what to cook when you go back? So I can help you with your next book about old-time Kansas food. Henry chuckled. Okay, I've been put in my place. He pulled out 3 books and tossed them on the bed. Mid-1800s. That should do it. Chuck wagons, the original food truck, Mexican cuisine, and farmyard. He took out another book. Fred Harvey was about then. Read about him. Who's he? Henry put his hand to his heart. You never heard of the Harvey girls? You and I have movies to watch. Etta picked up the books, gave one last look at the framed needlework, then followed Henry out. It was later, when she was snuggled down in Ben's bed for the night and looking at the cookbooks, that she thought more of the dream. It hadn't faded in her mind at all. She could still see faces and remember smells. Her body was still sore from a rough wagon ride or sleepwalking. As she looked at the historical cookbooks, she asked herself why she was bothering to read them. Was she doing what Henry said and planning for when she returned? But that was absurd. People didn't repeat dreams. On the other hand, the whole world seemed to have had the dream of showing up somewhere in their underwear. She put the book on the bedside table and turned off the lights. Would she dream again? Part of her wanted to, but another part thought of turning on her iPad and watching a movie. Stay awake. When she realized that what she most wanted to watch was Tombstone, which was set about the time she dreamed of, she closed her eyes tight. Sleep, she commanded herself, and no dreams. Okay, that's the end of chapter 3. I am really liking this book so far. I like the fact that, Henry is supporting her in her dream and not making her feel like she's crazy and stuff like that. And I like the fact that she is embracing kind of sort of her dreams. I like the funny the funny conversations they have going back and forth. So is she about to dream some more? She got to, right? But yes, I'm liking this book. So I shall see you in the next chapter. Bye for now.